I want to bring to the airwaves for his maiden voyage with us, a guy I've followed the last few years, Dr. Peter Glidden, BSND, naturopathic doctor. He received his BS degree from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. He earned his ND from Baystar University in Seattle, Washington. He's an outspoken advocate of holistic health for more than 2 decades. He's been treating people with naturopathic therapeutics, including homeopathy, heavy metal, chelation, herbal medicine, identical hormone supplementation, which is really starting to supplant establishment Western medicine, I should add, so they're coming after it everywhere. They're trying to tell the local pharmacies, like People's Pharmacy and stuff here locally, that are doing the same thing, that are becoming so popular. Oh, you can't do that anymore. Oh, this hormonal therapy that's saving women losing their babies, and oh, you can't have that anymore. I mean, oh, you can't have fish oil. Oh, you can't have vitamin C. That's already happening in Europe. So he's here. I wanted to get him on because he's an expert on what this modern Western medicine is. And that's even changing. Because when you break your leg, nothing better than Western medicine. Or if you got to get a heart bypass and didn't do the things you needed to have a healthy heart, yeah, it works. Antibiotics are great until they're overused and causes flesh-eating bacteria. But the point is that now even old-fashioned Western medicine is being taken over by big pharma with these computerized systems under national health care where they tell, and I've had medical doctors on, they tell you what you can do now. So now it's pure eugenics, big pharma medicine. So they've taken the good parts of Western medicine, they're trying to phase those out and bring in this Rockefeller-type medicine, this eugenical medicine. And so we're going to go over the history of how we got here with our guest, Peter Glidden. Dr. Peter Glidden joins us via video Skype. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I know this will be the first of probably many interviews. Thank you for your fine work, and I've been aware of your work the last few years, but as I get more and more into this and lose 40-plus pounds without even trying, by simply getting the minerals and things I need, and as I really try to get back to being healthy, just more and more your name comes so highly recommended across the spectrum. So we're honored to have you, Dr. Glidden.
Very kind of you, Alex. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm, that goes both ways. I've been a big fan of Prison Planet for a number of years, so it's really great for me to be here. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Let's say we're talking to laymen out there like myself who are just starting to learn about this. How did we get here? Give us the history.
Well, in the early 1900s, certainly the 1800s, in the early 1900s, the playing field of medicine was very different than it is now. Back in the day, you had the homeopaths, you had the chiropractors, you had the naturopaths, you had the osteopaths, you had the herbalists, and you had the MDs. And by the way, MDs do not practice medicine. MDs practice a particular type of medicine called allopathic medicine, right? I'm a naturopath. I practice naturopathic medicine. There's homeopathic medicine, osteopathic medicine, chiropractic medicine. Well, guess what? The MDs practice allopathic medicine. I'll tell you what that is in a second. But in the early 1900s, the playing field in medicine was relatively level here, and nobody had the upper hand. There were turf wars, kind of like, in the movie Gangs of New York, right? It wasn't the prettiest of all things, but, nobody had the upper hand until 1910. When the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegies, it was actually the Carnegies that supported this. It was something called the Flexner Report. The Carnegies hired this guy named Abraham Flexner. He went all around the United States. Now, remember, this was before the interstate highway system, right? It took Flexner 5 years before the internet. It took him 5 years. He went all around the country on horseback and stagecoach and train. And he did an inventory of all of the medical schools and all of the hospitals in the U.S. that practiced MD-directed allopathic pharmaceutical medicine. Brought the list back to the Carnegies, which is famously referred to historically as the Flexner Report. And the Carnegies and then the Rockefellers proceeded to give millions of dollars of free money to the medical schools and the hospitals that prescribed drugs. Why? Because the Carnegies and the Rockefellers were deeply in bed with pharmaceutical companies. So guess what? If you're starting a business and I'm starting a business and you get $1 million of free money and I don't, well, guess who's going to have the bigger business? You will. This is why the MDs are in the driver's seat of medicine now. It is not because their therapeutics are more effective. It is not because their therapeutics are more scientific, and it certainly isn't because their therapeutics are safer. It's because of financial coalitions that were built at the turn of the century between the pharmaceutical industry and medicine. And everybody has forgotten about it. We look out of our windows today and we see, son of a gun, the only medicine that they make TV shows and movies about is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine that's practiced at my hospital is MD-directed medicine. The only medicine my insurance pays for is MD-directed medicine. Therefore, we unconsciously assume that the medicine that the MDs practice must be the best. Well, guess what? It's not. They are in the driver's seat only because of financial and political coalitions that were built at the turn of the century that have turned into a gigantic, out-of-control, monopolistic juggernaut, and we are dropping like flies because of it. But don't get me started.
Amazing. And again, notice I called it Rockefeller medicine. For people that don't know, the cancer industry, everything, the takeover of hospitals, phasing out charity in medicine that had always been demanded. The Hippocratic Oath 20 years ago, they phased that out. And now they're bringing in the death panels. Now we're seeing Carnegie, Rockefeller, all of them who were eugenicists, we're seeing it's death care. So they're even phasing out what was good that came out of the whole MD line and trying to turn it into pure evil now. And we go back to them being known as the monopoly men. They had already created all the monopolies over oil, steel, railroads. Now they're bringing the monopoly of medicine. But I notice in studies, the elites, British royalty, Dutch royalty, they all go to the herbalists and the naturopath. They all actually go to the other schools. They know something, don't they?
Well, it's interesting you should say that because old man Rockefeller had he kept a personal physician, a homeopath, as his personal physician, which is quite ironic when you think about it. Yeah, so, really, listen, Alex, the only reason that my profession, you think we have a free medical market here in the United States? Think again. Here's the deal. As a licensed naturopathic physician, here's what I had to do to become a naturopath. 4 years pre-med, 4 years naturopathic medical school, 1,000 hours of clinical supervision. I had to pass national boards and state boards, do 25 hours of continuing education credit. In Seattle, Washington, as a licensed naturopathic physician, I can deliver babies, prescribe drugs, order any diagnostic tests I want, work in hospitals, legally refer to myself as a physician, and it's all paid for by insurance. If I was to do exactly the same thing in Chicago that I did in Seattle, I'd be thrown in jail for a year and fined $5,000 for practicing medicine without a license, and that's just not right. We do not have a free medical market in the United States. It has been completely monopolized by the MDs for the last 100 years. And you're right that the MDs are really excellent at trauma care and some type of infections. If you have a bullet in your leg, you get your leg blown off in Iraq, you have a nasty pneumonia that botanical medicine couldn't fix, you break your leg skiing, you get somebody T-bones you at the intersection, they are good at that, but that is the only thing that allopathic medicine is good at. The reason that we have a healthcare crisis in this country, the reason that bankruptcy, the leading cause of bankruptcy is medical bills, the reason that our health is getting worse and worse and chronic disease is getting more and more is because MD-directed, allopathic, reductionistic, pharmaceutical medicine for chronic disease does not work. It doesn't work. And Dr. Wallach and I are the only ones standing up on this hill and saying it. Look, you wouldn't take a Chihuahua duck hunting, right? You need a Labrador retriever for that. You wouldn't take a Chihuahua to find a lost kid in the wilderness. You need a bloodhound for that. Well, taking your body to an MD, bless their hearts, for a chronic illness is a fool's errand.
Well, Dr. Blaylock's a renowned brain surgeon, and he basically says the same thing you're saying, too.
Well, the truth is a funny thing, right? It's hard to suppress the truth.
It is. Stay right there. We're going to come back and get more into this history and now where things are going. They're trying to really take over now. Stay with us.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
know we've got callers holding from the last hour on other issues, but I think we probably need to, unfortunately, let those callers go and open the phones up so we can take some questions for Dr. Glidden coming up here in this talk we're doing. But continue with the history of this, because now it's out in the open. Bill Gates, who's heavily invested in all this eugenics, the Rockefeller Foundation that he's teamed up with, all of them. He comes out and says, I can play the clip. We've played it probably 30 times. People are like, no, don't play it again. We've heard it. Just type in if you want to see it, folks. Bill Gates endorses death panels. There's a couple clips, but he says, hey, kill grandma. Don't give her care the last year of her life. Just decide she's dead. Kill grandma. And that's a death panel, folks. He says that. And we can hire 10 teachers, and the teachers all start clapping. So this idea that now the government, run by these eugenicists and Big Pharma, now directs through the computer systems in the healthcare what you can be given. And in England, you've got to go to the National Health Service to even get permission from them to go see a private doctor. And Paul Watson, for a month, couldn't even get in to see him with a chest cold. And, was having to try some natural remedies and things that did help. But now they want to block you being able to get massive dosages of vitamin C or take trace minerals on top of regular minerals. And they say, oh, you need a very small dose. They want us sick. In fact, I've seen those studies, Doc, where the most unhealthy food in America is served in hospitals, and just everything they do is about, well, I mean, take breast cancer. It's race for the cure. Why don't we try to find out why there's almost a 3,000% increase in breast cancer and why the U.S. has the worst level in the world? Well, how about race for the cause, Doc?
Well, that's what we should absolutely 100% do, and you're right on the money here, Alex, because here's the thing. I mean, we are deeply embedded in this matrix, right? Every culture has a myth, and it's built into the fabric of society. Now, years ago, everybody was convinced that the Earth was flat, right, and everybody was wrong. After that, everybody was convinced the Earth was at the center of the solar system, and, everybody was wrong. The prevailing myth that we have right now, and it is a deeply embedded myth in this culture, is that MD-directed medicine equals medicine, and everybody else is a back-of-the-bus quack. It's just not true. The type of medicine that the MDs are trained in is one particular philosophy, one particular subset aspect of medicine in general. And it is horrible. It delivers horrible results for chronic illness. I'll give you a perfect example. My colleague, Dr. Wallach, sued the FDA 8 times. He had to sue the FDA in order to secure something called a certified health claim. We had to sue the Food and Drug Administration so I can say what I'm about to say legally without being thrown in jail. You ready? 200 micrograms of selenium. 200 micrograms, it's a teeny-weeny amount of the mineral selenium, reduces the occurrence of breast cancer 82%. Reduces the occurrence of breast cancer by 82%. It reduces the occurrence of colon cancer, it reduces the occurrence of lung cancer, and it reduces the occurrence of colorectal cancer as well. Selenium, a simple mineral supplement, 82%. Why aren't the Susan G. Komen women marching for that? Because they don't know it. Why don't they know it? Because medicine in the United States is completely controlled by the MDs. The MDs are completely controlled by the pharmaceutical company, and nobody knows that there do, in fact, exist science-based, clinically verified alternatives for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, arthritis,
Dr. Glidden, let me stop
disease.
Let me stop, because we're going to come back from break and get into that. And every time I've had you, folks on from Youngevity, people like Dr. Wallach on, I forget, and he never toots his horn, that he's beaten the government all these times, one of the only people, because he can really prove it. That is so amazing, and that they do know all of this. The system knows. They know Prozac's going to make a lot of people commit suicide. They know aspartame eats holes in your brains. They know all this. This is cold-blooded.
That's correct. It's 100% cold-blooded, and one of the worst things anybody can do with a chronic health condition is visit an MD. It is one of the worst things that you can do. That's why my radio show on the GCN network is called Fire Your MD Now.
Well, very well said, and I'm glad that you're out there speaking out and exposing these people. I want to get into the 8 times you guys have sued the FDA and all the times you've won and each point you sued on. Let's get into that when we come back, because I've got to get Wallach back on. He hadn't been on like a year, and point out that, wow, he never even toots his horn that he's done that with your help and others, because this is being proven. And that's why they're so desperate to suppress the type of information that we break down at InfoWarsTeam.com. So we'll talk about the fact that so many illnesses are chronic lack of key nutrients, and the system knows this. That's why they try to feed you pure crud. We are back live, the first of many interviews with Dr. Glidden. And we've got folks calling in like Marshall in Oklahoma, listening on XM channel 166. But I want to get to your calls. I want to cover some more of this ground. Listen, I had tried vitamins, minerals. I had exercised. I had tried to starve myself. And because for 6, 7, 8 years I didn't work out and gained like 50, 60 pounds, I could not get it off. And my stomach would hurt. I would be so hungry. And I could just pig out. And it just would not satisfy me. Now I can eat about half of what I used to eat. I've lost over 40 pounds. And, I mean, I had a chicken fried steak 2 nights ago. And I'm still losing weight. It slowed down, but you can see the transformation. And now if I just diet a little bit, I know it's all going to fall off, so I'm about to go into that phase. But this has been done without dieting. I just have not been hungry. With Beyond Tangy Tangerine, available at InfoWarsTeam.com, that, of course, Dr. Glidden and Dr. Wallach endorse and are part of Youngevity. You can get free shipping at InfoWarsTeam.com and a bunch of other discounts when you shop to be a distributor. But my point is, anything I promote, it's because I believe in it. I use it. And I've tried it all. My wife's a lot healthier than I am. She gets some stuff that's good at Whole Foods. But everybody I know, including my wife, my dad, who's a dentist, kind of looked at it with a little bit of a jaundiced eye at first. He's sold. My mother, who's a triathlete, is completely sold. Because they're immediately like, well, let us have some of that. Well, my mom was. Because she knows I only talk about what I believe in. And she saw me start losing weight. She's lost weight massively. She was never that big. She's swimming and running and bike riding faster. She says it's like she's 40 again. She's 60-something. In fact, she is pretty much reclusive when it comes to media. She wants to do a testimonial. The guy that we use as a handyman listens to the show and got some and has lost 30-something pounds in a month and a half. And is like, this is magic. It's not magic. Even the mainline minerals don't give you all the minerals and trace elements you need. This does. Beyond Tangy Tangerine, available at InfoWarsTeam.com. And I didn't get Dr. Glidden on to plug, but it's a catch-22. He starts talking about what is amazing in their lawsuits, and I forget they've done this in one. This is a big secret, and it does support our broadcast and what we do, but, I mean, all over the years, I've turned down hundreds of sponsors. I just turned down one last week for an incredible amount of money that would have really helped our operation. But I said, well, I don't have a year to test this out and see if it's all true and the language is, and I said, sorry, I'm not going to endorse your product. I saw Aaron Dykes lose. Now I'm starting to rant. I've got to go back to our guest. What's the point of having him in the calls? I saw Aaron Dykes. Well, you've seen it. Aaron is embarrassed to say, last time he was on 3 weeks ago, it was 89 pounds. It's now 92 pounds. And he just looks healthier and better by the minute. I can't. And hey, he did it listening to the folks from Youngevity. He did it, and it is incredible. And he would starve himself. He'd go out and run at lunch. He would do all this. He would sit there and fight for years. And then he got on minerals and vitamins and whey also. And just all the great products that are at InfoWarsTeam.com. Listen, Ted Anderson a year ago said, look, you're already starting to promote this, you think it's good, but you've got to do it. He goes, I was going to have surgery on my knee. And he got on the Osteo FX. It's in the Alex pack, discounted at InfoWarsTeam.com. Again, the lowest prices are there at InfoWarsTeam.com, and you support us. And then his dad, and Ted lets me tell this story. It's very sad. I actually feel bad telling it. His dad has Alzheimer's. They go fishing, hunting. He couldn't really go fishing anymore because he didn't really know who he was. 6 months on Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the essential fatty acid complex that they've come up with that's available at InfoWarsTeam.com. His dad was able to fish, knew who he was. It was miraculous. They tested his blood. The doctor said, the medical doctor said, you're not allowed to have greens. Are you eating greens? And he said, yeah, that and Beyond Tangy Tangerine pollen burst and stuff. And he said, nope. He never had a stroke, never had a heart problem. It's just they don't want him to have one. He's on Coumadin. They said, you're not allowed to have the vitamin K that's in the pollen burst and the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and all of it. The pollen burst is just awesome with the vitamin B, the antioxidants, the anti-aging, the increased energy, reduces oxidative damage and stress. This is my second favorite available at InfoWarsTeam.com. And guess what? The medical doctor's God, so he went off of it, and his dad faded away in a few months. And it's just... we literally sacrifice our children to the vaccines. We sacrifice our parents to the medical doctors. Dr. Glidden, I mean, this is a cult we're fighting. I mean, he was back, and the medical doctor said, no, you don't get to take that super mineral vitamin complex.
Oh, welcome to my world. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and it is absolutely positively true. MD in the United States stands for medical deity. I swear to God, an MD could put a white coat on, strap a stethoscope around his neck, tell someone to jump off the roof of the hospital, and they'd do it. This is how far down the rabbit hole we have gone in our unquestioning genuflection at the altar of MD-directed medicine. We need to snap out of it. We need to stop it, because there exist right now, today, science-based, clinically verified alternatives to drugs and surgery for all chronic health conditions. And this weight loss is awesome, but I tell you, Alex, it's the tip of the iceberg. And you know what? Last year we spent $70 billion with a B dollars on vitamins in this country, and everybody is still sick. Why is that? Because when it comes to vitamins, the recipe is everything. Vitamins are like, wine. They're all made from grapes. But there's a great deal of difference between Annie Boone Springs green apple wine and a nice Sonoma Cabernet, for goodness sake. I've been practicing naturopathic medicine for 20 years. I've been licensed for over 2 decades in the trenches, front-line, holistic medical care. And you get good results with holistic medicine. But as God is my witness, for the last 3 years, I have been mentoring with Dr. Wallach, following Dr. Wallach's clinical lead, using Dr. Wallach's nutritional supplements and his therapeutics. And I don't even know what planet I'm on anymore, man, because Dr. Wallach has it dialed in. His therapeutics eclipse anything that I had previously been exposed to. And you've seen my resume. I've done a lot in my history. I've done a lot in my career. And Wallach's therapeutics are eclipse.
And that's because, I mean, he's several types of doctor, but it's the veterinary angle. When I heard him a decade ago, and I didn't really dial it in, but I heard it because I'd worked for a large animal vet off and on for over a year total. They were obsessed at Texas A&M with the animals getting their minerals for health, for being able to handle stresses. And it was always minerals deficiencies connected to everything. So the veterinary medicine people knew this. I think that's why Dr. Wallach was able to develop all this.
Well, he was in charge of $25 million of federally funded research from 71 to 83. They did 26,000 autopsies, 10 million blood chemistries. The publication that's the result of that 12-year research protocol that Wallach did, he did the whole thing, is in the Smithsonian. It's a national treasure. And it is that body of research combined with decades of clinical experience that makes Wallach's therapeutics so extraordinary. It's not because of, anything, mystical or anything under the table. It's because Wallach did the hard time. Now, there's no physician on the planet that's done $25 million of federally funded research, 26,000 autopsies, 10 million blood chemistries, and then followed that up with decades of clinical work. It doesn't exist. Wallach's the only one. I'm telling you, Wallach is the Albert Einstein of holistic medicine.
No, I mean, people don't know, but I looked into it back when I was hearing these claims. It's true. I mean, he was involved in saving types of rhinos. He was like the name in zoological veterinary research. And of course, a lot of those are mammals. And he learned it's the vitamins, it's the minerals. It's just amazing, and all the info's at InfoWarsTeam.com. I want to go to phone calls, but let's get into those lawsuits. I mean, Dr. Wallach is actually going after them. He's beating them over and over again. How does he do that?
Well, you know, it's because he's got the truth on his side, and, you know, good lawyers also, right? I mean, you got to have a good lawyer, you got to have the truth on your side, and then, you know, you can't, 2 + 2 = 4, no matter how many people want to tell you that it equals 5. Well, guess what? It equals 4. I'll tell you 2 of Wallach's lawsuits. We can legally say, because of Dr. Wallach. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but Wallach doesn't make any money from the sale of vitamins in Youngevity. He removed himself from that revenue stream on purpose so that people couldn't, as snake in the grass critics can't rise up and say, oh, that Wallach, he's just trying to make money selling vitamins. Well, guess what? He doesn't make any. And he's sued the FDA on your behalf out of his own pocket a lot. So 2 of his health claims, we can say that essential fatty acids virtually eliminate the risk of stroke. This is omega-3, omega-6, and 9. The only reason that you get a stroke is because your blood starts clotting funny. The only reason your blood starts clotting funny is not because you have a bad gene, not because you have a voodoo curse, and certainly not because you have a coumadin deficiency. It's because your blood has run out of the raw materials it needs to maintain its health. It's that simple. And we can say that 200 micrograms of selenium supplementation reduces the occurrence of breast cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer 82%, prostate cancer 69%, colon cancer 64%, and lung cancer 39%. And that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 1998.
But no one knows it, and you're called evil if you tell. Look, all I go on is the weight loss because I didn't have any medical issues. Other than, I guess, you know, every once in a while a little bit of breakout, which, by the way, I'm not having anymore since I've really actually been taking the regimen. And 1.5 years ago when I first got into it, I did a little bit, but I wasn't in the habit of doing it. And I felt some effects, so I thought, well, this is good, I'll endorse it. But now that I've really gotten into it and take the products, I'm like, well, I better start taking all these other products and researching. And that's why I only promote 5 or 6 of them, because those are the ones that I've seen effects, or family or friends, you know, that Youngevity's developed, and that we promoted at InfoWarsTeam.com. But again, expanding on all of that, the weight loss issue, they don't even advertise Pollen Burst, Rebound, Beyond Tangy Tangerine for weight loss. This is the, I guess, side effect of not being as hungry. I mean, I literally eat half what I used to, and I'm satisfied, and it's incredible.
Look, weight gain is a deficiency disease. The MDs have completely got it 100% ass backwards. Weight gain is a deficiency disease. It is not a disease of excess. Here's how it goes. By the way, we have the secret to weight loss not even Oprah knows. And if you know Oprah, you better get her on the phone, because when we help Oprah lose weight with health the way that you did, that's when we're really going to start to change the world. Your body has nutrient needs that are impossible to be met by food. You cannot meet your body's nutritional needs just by eating food. So everybody's nutritional tank is at least half full. And then the stress of life comes rolling in. You get more and more and more and more depleted in nutrients. When your body reaches a certain level of nutritional lowness, your central nervous system freaks out, because it knows that you're running on fumes. It knows that something bad's going to happen to your heart, your lungs, your liver, your brain. Something's going to break. So what does it do? It makes you eat. The only reason people gain weight is because they eat too many calories, right? Nobody in Auschwitz was overweight. I don't care what their genes were. I don't care what their pre-existing medical condition was. If you do not eat, you lose weight. The only thing that makes us gain weight is we eat too many calories. The only thing that makes us eat too many calories is our bodies are nutritionally starved. But you go to your MD, he tells you your stomach's too big, got to cut it out, got to put a band around it. Oh, you're depressed. Oh, you're lazy. Oh, it's genetic. Guess what? Wrong, 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 and wrong. The only reason people gain weight is they eat too many calories. The only reason you eat too many calories is because you're nutritionally starved. So when you take the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the essential fatty acids and the liquid plant minerals, and when you give your body the nutrients it needs, you fill that tank up, guess what? You're nutritionally satisfied. So you go to Olive Garden, there's 3,000 calories on the plate, you eat 500, take the rest home in a doggy bag because you're satisfied. And the weight starts falling off without problems. The best kept secret in the United States right now. No kidding.
Well, the proof's in the pudding. Aaron, 90+ pounds now. I'm at 42.5 pounds or so. And It's just incredible. In fact, I'm going to have some tangy tangerine right now, and I like to mix Pollen Burst in with it, because guess what? I rarely now drink coffee in the afternoon and at night like I used to. And when I take a Pollen Burst with all the B vitamins in it, it's got some caffeine in it, it's a clean awake instead of what is in coffee. I'm not bashing coffee. I love the way it tastes and smells, but what's the difference between a Pollen Burst and a cup of coffee?
Well, there's a great deal of difference between a Pollen Burst and a cup of coffee, unless, of course, you're using JavaFit coffee by the Youngevity company, because that's been imbued with vitamins and minerals. The Pollen Burst has vitamins and minerals and essential fat, and it has vitamins and minerals in it that your body needs to burn the energy that is already available to it properly. It's kind of like a turbocharger for, your car. Kind of like the NOx, you press the button and you squirt the nitrogen into the tank and the car takes off like a bat out of hell. Well, the Pollen Burst gives your body the raw materials that it needs to process the energy that it already has more efficiently. And man, it's fantastic. And I really can't, Wallach doesn't talk about himself enough. He's a very humble man, and as God is my witness, that man has forgotten more about science, has forgotten more about science and medical nutrition than most doctors know. That's what I'm trying to say. He is unbelievable.
Well, it's true, and we're about to go to break and come back and take a few calls for 2 short segments. We're going to have you back, but go over, because, Wallach will say, type 2 diabetes, you can almost completely reverse it, blah, 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 on and on and on. And I'm like, yeah, right, even though I know this stuff's great. And then I start getting the calls from people that have actually tried it, and they're saying, wow, why did my medical doctor tell me this? What's happening there?
Well, here's the deal. Your MD is only trained in pharmaceutical and surgical medicine. That's all they're trained in. They have no training, no respect, no appreciation, and no experience with anything other than drugs. And see, the problem with medicine in the United States is that the medical training, the training of an MD is a meat grinder. So when you come out of medical school as an MD, you actually believe that if you weren't taught it in medical school, it's just not valid. And MDs, bless their hearts, are like colorblind art critics. All they know is drugs and surgery all the time. You want advice about medical nutrition? Come to see us. We've got you covered.
Absolutely. InfoWarsTeam.com. We're going to post this video after the show today there as well for folks that want to see it who are listening on XM and AM and FM stations across the country. We're going to talk to Karen listening on 1360 in Colorado, Marshall listening on XM, and others. Stay with us. Sick of the globalists, eugenicists, control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139. Look, it's simple. Cancer, neurological disorders, diabetes, diseases of the bones and joints. It's all off the charts. You can go to the statistics. The United States leads the world in all of it. And it is the MD system. And that's what not just Wallach, but Blaylock breaks that down. And he's a brain surgeon. And a lot of other people are starting to get this. So the establishment's trying to come in to block this information. That's why it's so great that Dr. Wallach and others are on the offensive. Peter, I want to go to some phone calls now. Again, Dr. Peter Glidden is our guest. We're going to have this information all posted at InfoWarsTeam.com. Let's go to Karen, listening on 1360 AM, KHNC in Colorado. And then we'll go to Marshall and others. Karen, thanks for holding.
Thank you, Alex. God bless you both, and thank you so very much for having this program today. I am a widow of a 20-year veteran in the U.S. Army. Here we were stationed in Colorado, and he and my daughter, within 1 month, passed away. My daughter was diagnosed with lupus at age 17. It took them half a year to figure out what was wrong with her, and by the time they did, the race was on. They shoved her full of medications, tests, surgeries. She went in the hospital for pneumonia in November of 2008, and she was gone by August of 2010.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
I thank you so. Thank you, Alex. I thank you so very much for conveying the truth that MDs are there for acute ailments.
Listen, I'm afraid to go to the doctor. My dad is a physician, oral surgeon dentist.
Yeah.
He's afraid to go. Growing up, they almost killed me when I had surgery on my leg. And I don't want to get into the whole story, but, you know, I've got a hernia, and I'm afraid to go get it worked on, and I'm just doing it with weight loss instead, and I've actually talked to a medical doctor who says that's the way to do it. But, I mean, listen, I'm scared of them. Dr. Glidden comments on what she's saying.
Well, MD-directed medical treatments are the leading cause of death in the United States. I mean, the numbers are in. Numbers don't lie. The third leading cause of death is cancer, 550,000 people a year. Second, heart disease, 700,000. The leading cause of death in the United States is treatments delivered by MDs, 780,000 people a year. Stop giving them your money.
And look how long doctors live. That's why dead doctors don't lie, do they?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. You know, I want to read you a quote real quick here. This was from Benjamin Rush, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence 200 years ago. Unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come when medicine will organize itself into a dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men and deny equal privileges to others, will constitute the Bastille of medical science, and that is exactly what we have in the United States. It is an out-of-control medical monopoly.
You're right, ma'am. I'm sorry to hear that happened to your daughter and your husband in a 1 month period, you said?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I took my daughter to a naturopathic doctor of medicine. In 10 minutes after answering a few questions, he nearly jumped out of his seat and said, "Candida. Candida." This is, they were treating her symptoms. They operated on her until she had a massive stroke, which is what actually took her out. She had a stroke. She went to the doctor complaining about inflammation and pain in her chest and pain in her arm. They sent her home and said, "Just go to dialysis tomorrow morning. You'll be fine."
Yeah,
well,
and nobody goes to jail.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's hundreds of thousands that kill a year now, and they don't even deny it. And, wow, it's just incredible. And it's all Rockefeller run, just as you heard. I mean, that set this whole thing up. They discovered the cancer viruses, too. They put them in your vaccines. Wow. Every time I have somebody on like Dr. Glidden, we could just take calls for hours. And we'll do that in the future. We'll do like 2 hours of calls of people's positive stories from nutrition and things like that versus the medical establishment. And it's just incredible. We don't screen your calls, as you know. We just open them up. You can call in. You know, sometimes we have a specific topic we're on, but that's only occasional. I want to go to Marshall in Oklahoma right now, listening on XM channel 166. You're on the air, sir. Thank you for holding.
Thanks for taking my call. I regard both of y'all very highly. My question is, my sister-in-law just got out of medical school. She's in her last year of residency, and we haven't been giving our daughter vaccinations, and she acts like we're horrible parents for that, and her response is she shows us, you know, what measles does and what the effects of all these diseases.
Oh, really? Shoving her face the San Francisco Chronicle 2 months ago, where they had to begrudgingly admit, after we'd already reported on it, that almost all the new whooping cough cases were of the vaccinated. Look, Bill Gates just gave 46,000 plus people polio with the vaccine. They just call it something else. I mean, it's a joke. What would you say to this new doctor who's on such a power trip, Dr. Glidden?
Well, this is the thing. You can't fix stupid. And, trying to convince an MD who's fresh out of medical school that there is another alternative or that one aspect of their therapeutics are wrong and not working, it's a fool's errand. It's never going to work. It's like trying to convince a slave owner that slaves are people and not animals. It's not going to work. I would just move on. Don't worry about it. Go tell her to pound sand. That's what I would do.
Well, but they're also pushing, Doc, to make people take shots now. And
yeah. And they're also pushing us to have mandatory health insurance, right? Are you kidding me? So they're going to make us, it's going to be a law to make us buy insurance to gain access to a system of medicine that doesn't work. You've got to be kidding me.
What about how they're forcing chemotherapy on people now? I mean, it's a total
Don't even
tyranny.
get me started. Chemotherapy I'm going to pull up the reference. I think it was 1994, the Journal of Clinical Oncology. Journal of Clinical Oncology. They did a 12-year study on adults who developed cancer and were treated with chemotherapy. It was published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, and here were the results. 97% of the time, chemotherapy does not work. It doesn't work. That was published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. Now, can somebody please tell me why chemotherapy clinics are popping up like dandelions? Because
they're killing us. They're murdering us. Listen.
A for-profit industry.
They know,
right?
Doc, you know my research in eugenics. Have you found that this is a premeditated program?
Well, there's evidence to support that fact, Alex. I'm not sure that they're that smart. I think that there might be a cadre of people involved at the top that was their intention.
No, exactly. No. The low level are just compartmentalized, not even thinking. I agree, yeah.
I agree with you there.
Well, all I know is
when you look at the numbers. I mean, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, flies like a duck, it's probably a duck.
But it doesn't matter. I was looking at statistics where many pediatric cancers are up 10,000% from 1950. I mean, this is incredible.
Well, while MDs have been driving the bus, Alzheimer's has risen from obscurity to the 6th leading cause of death. Now 1 out of 88 kids are autistic. 30%, there's been a 30% increase in childhood obesity. Blood pressure's through the roof. Type 2 diabetes is going through the roof. Our life expectancy is going down, all because we go to MDs. Stop it. Get educated about medical nutrition, folks. You do not know what you're missing.
And it's simple. Get Beyond Tangy Tangerine, Pollen Burst, and other products at InfoWarsTeam.com. InfoWarsTeam.com. Thank you so much, Dr. Glidden. We'll definitely have you back up very soon. Wow.
Thanks so much, Alex. It's always a pleasure. You keep up the good work, buddy.
I'll try. Wow, that was powerful. Joel Skousen coming up. The origins of Mayday and the commies.